everyone, The Flash, episode 16, The Curious Case of Bartholomew Allen. And it's your boy Icon with some DC TV, with some fresh new Flash gear that I received from a very special person for my birthday. So now, in this particular episode, The Flash has been doing some stuff, and I wasn't happy because Barry's like, in the beginning he's like running around saving the world, keeping Central City safe as he always does, and I'm thinking it's business as usual. Chester's on the comms and he's like, oh boss, you got to get back here because some crazy things are happening. And then, like Barry rushes, he saves some old lady, and then, like he runs back. He ends up going to Joe's house, and when he gets there, they're playing a board game. And I was just like, what the F? And then they're going around the table with everybody playing this board game. And then Joe, then they put the camera on Joe. And then Joe's like, what the hell are we doing? And I said the same thing because I was just like, Iris West, like my future baby mama, is trapped in the still forest. And I know you're not out here playing some Dungeons and Dragons while my baby is trapped in the still forest. What are we doing here, people? So, they're trying to, like I said, they just trying to, I guess, clear their minds of whatever's happening. But Joe, he's feeling some kind of way because he was like, he's used to playing big whist, like in spades, like he's not used to like all these new, like these new fandangled games. And then it's at that moment where Barry ends up getting a ping or a call on his phone. And he goes down to CCPD to talk to the person who gave him the call. When we see the person that called him, it's actually the returning Singh, like Captain Singh. Well, he was the captain. Now he's like the chief. Chief Singh. Like he's here. And, obviously he knows that Barry's the Flash. And there was a really cool moment where Barry was just like, oh, how's like the new chief handling it? And then he was just like, oh, Kramer's doing fine and everything. And he's like, she knows I'm the Flash. Because he tried to cover it up. He was like, oh, he said that I'll put you on this case. And then I'll talk to Kramer to try to distract her from the truth. And he was like, nah, Kramer knows I'm the Flash. And he was like, really? He's like, well, I figured it out first. Like he was feeling kind of jealous there. But he was telling him about this person who was going around like stealing stuff and like doing all this crazy stuff. So Barry decides to take the case, and then while Barry decides to take the case, Captain Singh goes down to go talk to Joe because he hasn't seen Joe in a while. Well, now, quickly on the Joe situation. Basically, what's happening is when Singh talked to him, Joe was basically trying to figure out what to do with his retirement. He was trying to, like, fix a Roomba. Because even Singh said when he saw Joe, he was like, I figured you'd have, like, this big music studio or you'd be playing, like, records or something. And then that's when Joe was basically just like, oh, like, I don't know what to do with myself. But Singh's whole thing was he was just like, that's because you're having difficulty adjusting to, like, to the times of, like, what to do now. He said even back when you were a cop, when we made the transition to go from paper files over to digital, you were the only person that refused to translate, to transfer over to digital. And because you were doing the paper stuff, there was a criminal that we were trying to catch that we could have caught 3 weeks ago, but you was bullshit. Like I said, and then like in the end, like Joe basically, like after the two of them talked, Joe embraced the new, and he ended up taking another crack at Dungeons and Dragons, and he actually got all into it, got his Harry Potter on. So now the whole thing with Barry, this is a very short episode. Like the whole thing with Barry goes down, and the Joe storyline mirrored what was going on with Barry, because Barry bumped into this thief, this scientific thief, who was basically stealing components and weapons and things like that to build a machine that allows him to turn back the hands of time. The guy ended up using like a spear ball that he used to bust Barry in the chest with, and when Barry got hit with its energy, it started siphoning Barry's youth from him, and it was going into another machine that was turning this guy from old back to young again. The scientist's plan was he was basically going to siphon the youth from everyone in Central City so he can make himself young again and make everybody old. But because Barry got hit, by his magical like spear device, Barry, throughout the episode, he was turning old. But because of his Flash speed healing, he obviously didn't turn into dust. So throughout the episode, Barry's just doing things like he forgot where the Starchives was, like his back was hurting him. He couldn't generate like he couldn't generate lightning the way he used to. He couldn't do like the hand thingies and everything. And then Cecile had to talk him off the ledge because he was trying to use his power. And what Chester had found out was that every time he used his power, that's what was accelerating his age. And they were trying to get him to stop using his power, but he's like, I'm the Flash, I can't stop. And then that's when Cecile sat and told him, she was like, listen, in order for you to defeat this guy without your speed, you got to start using your brain. So Barry found him, and then when Barry found him, the guy had his machine set up, and then he hit the button, and then he was like, I'm going to let this wave out that's going to siphon all the energy. Barry ran around him in a fast circle, and what Barry ended up doing, the energy that was being brought in taking the youth from all these other people. I guess Barry ended up putting it in reverse, and because he reversed the machine, it gave him his youth back, and it stopped him from sucking that from everybody else. And then he took the youth that the other guy was absorbing and then turned him old. And then they locked him up and put him in Iron Heights. So now everything's fine. Barry's young again. They actually said he's younger than he was before, and I thought that was very interesting. So Barry's good again. We took down the villain of the week. Chester and Allegra still ain't get together. And then while everybody was watching Joe get his Harry Potter on, then Barry ended up getting a call from Kaitlyn's mom. Now here's where the episode. This was the most interesting part of the entire episode, because Iris still ain't in the episode, and until my baby mama come back, like I don't want to hear it. But the most interesting part of the episode was when Barry got the call from Kaitlyn's mom. She said that she hadn't seen Kaitlyn in weeks. Barry goes down to Kaitlyn's apartment. He knocked on the door, and then she didn't answer the door. So because he's afraid for his friend's life, he phased himself through her apartment. When he went into her apartment, he saw all the chemicals and the vials and all the mad scientist stuff, and then he was just like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And then that's when, she's just like, "Oh, I know what this looks like." And kudos to me, because I went on a rant for like 3 weeks saying that now that Kaitlyn's trying to bring Killer Frost back to life, when she finally brings Killer Frost back, Killer Frost should still be inside Kaitlyn's body, because the only reason why the two of them even separated to begin with was because of the mirror gun. Well, surprise, surprise, Kaitlyn stole the mirror gun. So she stole the mirror gun so she can give Frost her own body. And then, that's when, because Barry saw the gun, he was like, "What is this doing here?" And then that's when she told him, because she said that, Killer Frost, there should still be some residual Killer Frost, like, left in my psyche, like, left in me. And she said, "I know I can get it out of me. And if I can activate it in my body, we can bring Killer Frost back." There was a moment where I felt that Barry was going to help her. He kind of felt her pain. He felt where she was coming from. And there was a slight moment where he probably would have been like, "Okay, how do we bring Frost back?" And then Kaitlyn fucked up, because she was just like, "Oh, think about your parents, Barry. Couldn't you save them if you wanted to save them?" And I'm like, you know damn well what happened when he tried to save his parents. It didn't go so well. Once she said that, Barry was like, "Nah, bitch." He's like, "Yo, we got to do something." He's like, "Nah." He's like, you got to let Frost go. You got to find a way to live with it. What you're doing now isn't the answer." And then Kaitlyn was like, "But I don't want to." And she's like, "I can do it." And then that's when Barry was like, "I'm sorry, I'm going to have to do this." And if you ever saw The Little Mermaid, and the scene where Ariel had like her little like cavern room with all the stuff that she got from the surface world, and then her daddy found her room, and then when her daddy busted in, he was just like, "If you won't put this foolish, like land dweller stuff away, Ariel, then I shall do it for you." And then he destroyed like her whole room and all her thingamabobs and all her other stuff. And she was like, "No." That was how I felt when I watched Barry destroy Kaitlyn's lab. I was like, yo, he dead ass just Little Mermaid right now. And then he destroyed everything, and he was like, "I'm sorry, Kaitlyn." And then he took off. And then after he took off, then Killer Frost's flannel shirt fell on the floor, and then Kaitlyn was just sitting there looking stupid, and then she was all upset. But I was surprised, because I personally thought Barry going over there and using his power, I thought Kaitlyn did that on purpose. I thought Kaitlyn, her mom, and Blaine set that up on purpose to use Barry's energy for something. I thought that when Barry left the room, Kaitlyn was gonna then like call Blaine or call her mom and be like, "Hey, it worked. Barry just left, and I got the Speed Force energy we need to power the machine that's gonna bring Killer Frost back." But then when Barry left and Kaitlyn was just sitting there looking stupid, I was like, "Oh, he really blew her shit up." So that was interesting. But obviously Kaitlyn's not done, because there's a million. Like, she doesn't need all that crap. Like, in order to bring her back, like she said, like, Killer Frost exists within her psyche, so she's gonna do it. And if she doesn't do it in her lab, she's probably gonna find her daddy old lab, and then they're gonna recreate the experiment in her daddy old lab. All I'm saying is, when Killer Frost come back, she just better be inside Kaitlyn, and she better be evil, because that's who she was before. So that was it, and thank you for tuning in. Like I said, quick episode of The Flash. Like, really wasn't nothing, nothing going on, like nothing crazy happened. I saw in the next week's episode, we're going back to Leanne Yu, like holler at Arrow, for some Leanne Yu action. We're going to Leanne Yu to find out what happened to Thawne, and Barry has to talk to Thawne for whatever reason and try to find out some stuff that's going on in Central City, and we'll see what happens in the next episode. So check me out on Twitter, check me out on Instagram, as always on YouTube, where you can share your questions, comments, and concerns, because like I said, right now with The Flash, the only thing that's going on is Iris is still stuck in limbo, and we didn't even bring that up. You know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't bring that up, and we're still trying to keep Central City safe. Somebody had mentioned to Allegra why she doesn't have a code name, so I thought that actually was Captain Singh. So at some point, Allegra is going to get herself a code name, and she'll probably get a cool suit, and her and Chester will finally get together, and we can stop talking about this foolishness. So that was it, guys. Thank you for tuning in as always. So till next week, because remember, Superman and Lois is returning next Tuesday, and we still got 2 episodes of Young Justice to go. So Young Justice is almost over, but we're getting Superman and Lois back, and we're still doing the Flash because this is only episode like 15, 16. So Flash still got ways to go until we move on to the next project. Because I know Doom Patrol is around the corner. Marvel's doing She-Hulk, and I said I guess we'll do She-Hulk for all you Marvel fans. And then we got more stuff coming down the pipeline. Thank you for taking the journey with me. And as always, we will do the superhero stuff until the end of time. So until next time, guys, for some Flash action, take care. See you on Liamu. And about this